Welcome. So we're going to talk about the death penalty today, but we got a special guest that is boots on the ground out in the field. Actually got hurt at a dangerous convenience store where these rich people are making a lot of money. So I'll let him introduce himself. He's going to tell you a little story what happened.
Okay.
Oh, never mind. He's got to get the bus. So you'll tell him next time you want to introduce yourself anyway?
Hey, I'm Ed from Kenzo.
Ed from Kenjo. So yeah, here is the bus. So we're gonna talk about the death penalty today, and 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 about how the 1964 political campaign of Lyndon B. Johnson introduced into the political environment a catastrophic incident for the world, telling you what the stakes are in the presidential election. And we're going to tell you what the stakes are in elections in America today still, as you look at the beautiful American flag. Welcome, Charles Van Morgan. We're going to talk to you this morning about the death penalty and how your innocence won't change a damn thing. You could still be put on death row and be completely innocent. So that's the stakes, catastrophic for you and your loved ones, because the death penalty has little to do a lot of times with innocence or guilt, and has a lot to do with who's your daddy, whether or not you get executed. So here we got some fans right there. Good morning. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, watch the show. Yeah, thank y'all. So yeah, it's depending on who you are. Like if you live in apartments and don't have a lot of money, good people, you might get brought up on charges and not be guilty of a damn thing, because the system's set up where great people like those people get treated differently, wrongly, than other people that get a free ride through the system and never face death row, never face the death penalty, specifically in Tennessee and all across the nation. And I'm not speaking from a novice point of view. Although I've never been on death row, I have studied it in depth in a university. And even better than that, more than that, you all know, you've seen it take place in real time, in real life. Some of you have heard the commentary after the death row, and some of you have heard the commentary after the death row has failed when they've tried to get people killed, and they keep trying. They keep trying. So we're going to talk about this morning, and I'm going to try to scare you into the truth so that you can do something about it. The real likelihood of you personally going to death row and possibly getting executed, and you say, well, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything wrong. They can't do that. Yes, they can. And yeah, they do. And it is possible with you where you're at right now. I'm going to try to scare you into reality to protect you from that. As the commercial, Lyndon B. Johnson had the little girl counting forward, missing counts, said 1, 2, 3, 4, pulling stuff off the flower and pulling petals off the flower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 9, and counting. And then you hear the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and catastrophic nuclear war, nuclear explosion, a nuclear bomb hit. And Lyndon B. Johnson, he's telling you the stakes in that election as they see it. And I believe sometimes very realistically, that is the stakes. And very realistically, it is the stakes in the state of Tennessee. If you keep voting Democrat and Republican, both will get the executions done in the state of Tennessee. You're going to keep getting innocent people on death row. And don't wake up when you're on the table strapped down and you see the table on the picture icon. You're on the table strapped down, and it could be you strapped to the execution bed, giving your last words, proclaiming your innocence. Many of them do, and that makes no difference at all that you're innocent. You say, how can this happen? And the way it can happen is, if you don't listen to me now, if you don't listen to the message now, it could very well happen to you or one of your loved ones. You could be going to visit them from the other side, watching execution take place, knowing damn good and well they didn't do it. And that is really happening in real time right now. And even if you're innocent and they are so inept, I mean, they're inept at performing the executions. They get them done a lot, and a lot of times they mess up and can't even get them done. It's hard to kill somebody. And especially when you're inept on the back end, but they're inept on the front end too, because they put people on that bed in the execution chamber that are not guilty. They do, it happens, and it could be you. Now, I'm not saying, and we'll go into look at it, I'm not saying that guilty people shouldn't be executed. I believe that they should. And I'm not saying that guilty people don't get exonerated sometimes. You hear a lot of death row cases, and people got pronounced innocent and got off death row. And some of them, quite frankly, are guilty as hell. They should have stayed on death row. They should have been executed years ago. But we're going to explain to you how that happens. I'm just telling you reality. The system is so messed up. It's catastrophic to you either way you go. Guilty people who have murdered people brutally sometimes are getting out of death row and freed on the streets to kill you. And guilty, innocent people are being executed, put on death row in the state of Tennessee, in the United States of America. And we're going to talk about the executions that nobody puts together, is the fact that it's actually a privilege in our circumstance, the mass populace of Tennesseans, for all of us, not for them. I'm talking about we're a separate class. All the mass populations of Tennesseans are different from them. I know that. I've studied that. The problem is not crime in the mass populace. The problem is not racism, although it is a problem. It works both ways, and especially anti-Semitism. It's a problem. The problem is mainly in the separation, in the distance between the super rich, the extremely rich, and the rest of us, the mass populace of Tennesseans. There's more of us than them, and we got to realize that's the fight. And if you don't have enough money, innocence won't make a damn bit of difference. You'll still be on death row, and it's a privilege to be on death row. If you look at the alternative, which is execution immediately, if not sooner, by a police officer on the street when he didn't do a damn thing wrong and didn't deserve to be shot. And that happens too. You don't get a judge, you don't get a jury, you get an executioner right out walking the streets, condoned a lot of times by these agencies. Now, what happens is, I'm just telling you what happens. You don't have to believe me. I'll tell you what I think, what I've seen, what I know from inside. Very alarming. I hope to alarm you. It protects you knowing the truth, because you got more people you can fight against it. The alarming truth of the matter is this. When you hear about somebody getting fired with the police department, you think, well, they do get rid of the bad cops. They do, and you hear all across the United States these YouTubers that point out these bad cops, and they say, well, they were fired and they did wrong. And if you look at some of them, and I have some of the YouTubers' cases that they have said officers did wrong, we're talking about executions. Either way, immediately, if not sooner, by police, or you're fortunate if you're on death row, because then you got time to fight. But the other executions are on the street immediately, if not sooner. So you're privileged if you're on death row, because at least you got a fighting chance, not very good one, but executions happen immediately, if not sooner, on the street. And people think that's not true. People that shoot people, cops that shoot people on the street, they're just defending their life. It's justifiable homicide. And not every time, it's not. Some of them are wrongful executions on the street without a judge or jury, without you. And that counts in executions too. And so if you do get arrested and you're on death row, you're privileged. And the misconception is this: the YouTubers put out all the time these police officers doing something wrong. Whether they did or not is subject to interpretation. I've had my boots on the ground. I know the difference in a lot of cases. A lot of these YouTubers hang out officers that didn't do anything wrong. Now, they're good people. Some of them pointing out wrong in police officers, and they get it right a lot. But sometimes they don't, because they don't know how it really works on the street. And they talk about this pie in the sky stuff that's not the reality, and they get rid of a lot of good officers because they put pressure on police departments, and police departments hang these people out, or they get rid of people based on made-up incidences that they want to get rid of because they're good for the public. So when you see a police officer getting fired, you think, well, they're getting rid of bad police officers. They're getting rid of the scumbags. The system's working. See, they fired one. I seen one with my name on it, When Pigs Fly, and people are happy. The government is doing its job. The rich, super rich people in power that have bought the government are doing the right thing, and they fired a police officer. I don't have to be afraid of police. They get rid of the bad ones, and that's just not true. That's just not true. Let's look and see how many people we got in here. Yeah, a lot of people. That's just not true. They do not get rid of a lot of bad police officers. They get rid of a lot of good police officers, and the ones that execute people on the street wrongfully, unjustifiable homicide, they adjudicate as justifiable homicide, and they're still on the streets walking around. Not in every case, but in a lot of cases. What I'm trying to tell you is, don't listen to what they tell you. Listen to facts. There's a newspaper put out, and they talk about facts matter, and hell yeah, they do. And they cover up facts, or put them in a position that they shouldn't be in to cover things up. The system's broke. It's catastrophic right now. The things that are going on in your beautiful state of Tennessee, beautiful mass populace of Tennesseans, you're at risk. I'm here to help you. I'm here to tell you the truth. Been through the fire, seen the inside. I know how crooked it is. I'm here to protect you and tell you how wrong it is and how much in danger you are. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The little girl taking the petals off the flower. Maybe counting wrong at times, just like I may miss a few steps, but I get all the numbers and get it right. And the point of that commercial, they tell you very clearly, the stakes are so high. The stakes are so high, and that's catastrophic nuclear war, nuclear bomb. And this is catastrophic too, to you personally, or maybe one of your friends. Execution in a Tennessee death row, in an execution chamber, that these people are so inept they can't even execute you. What makes you think that they got it right in putting you there in the first place? I mean, it goes to figure. And they don't get all the numbers wrong. They skip steps. And they have so many off-ramps for them. And you're going right there, innocent or not. If they set on a mission in the state government, they're going to try to get it accomplished despite all their errors and mistakes. One thing they do get right that's really wrong is once they start on a mission, they'll keep trying until they get the wrong mission accomplished. They have state institutions that are so fungible that they bend and twist to get wrong stuff accomplished that should never be completed in the first damn place. Wicked, cruel, corrupt people in state power will execute you unjustifiably, and or one of your family members. And I'm trying to scare you into reality. So that's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about some wrongful executions in the state of Tennessee, and talk about some specific cases where scientifically they could not have been guilty, and yet the state had them on death row anyway. Where science, now we know sometimes there's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt built on circumstantial evidence, and they're guilty. And other times we know that there's circumstantial evidence and people on death row, but scientific evidence, DNA evidence, proof positive they didn't do it, is there, and it's being ignored, and they're still on death row, and they still try to execute people. So we know scientifically by fact that guilt beyond a reasonable doubt is subject to the evidence that you get in court. And sometimes the state don't allow it there, and sometimes it is tampered with by fact. We'll show you real life cases. So you can't trust the system right now. I would have a moratorium on any more people newly convicted of a death sentence until a new governor gets in office, and have a review team to look over every case, with the exception of the ones that are already on death row. They ought to be executed immediately. No holding up justice for the people who have already been convicted and are on death row now. They should have continued the execution of Mr. Crothers the other day. And I hate to call him Mr. because the brutal things that he did that I believe that he's guilty of. Now, I wasn't there, I don't know, but there's enough there beyond a reasonable doubt that he should have been put down. And they spent over an hour trying to kill him and couldn't get it done. And we don't know, maybe they spent years and years trying to execute him and finally had the opportunity and didn't even do that right. That's how catastrophic it is. We just don't know. But what we do know, I can tell you by fact from being in the system, is that police officers commit murders on the street a lot. And we'll show you the numbers statistically. It's almost impossible for that not to have happened, that not to have taken place. And statistically, there are people on death row who are innocent, and statistically, there are people who have been executed that should not have been, that were stone cold innocent. And we know that they're arresting people in the state of Tennessee, that the tip of the iceberg that you can see for drunk driving, they're stone cold sober. What part of underneath what's tipping up in the iceberg that's huge under the water that you can't see, do you not believe that they are doing all kinds of other unlawful things against Tennesseans and Americans? That's the iceberg under the tip that you can't see that they're doing all the time. That's a lot huge. That's a lot bigger than what you can see. That ought to scare the hell out of you. It does me. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. You get scared, you have fear, and you take action. And one of the actions that we can take is to vote. Vote these people out of office. Vote the judiciary office across the board. Revolutionary voting. They're dangerous and violent. A unlawful, unjustified execution is a violent act at your hands because you're the state and they're acting on your behalf. I'm not saying you're doing it directly, but pretty indirectly, we all are guilty. If we don't vote against these people, that's what I think. Now, I vote, and I believe in the death penalty. I don't believe in wrongful executions. I believe that people should be executed when they're guilty within 5 years after the crime. And I'll explain to you why, because if you don't execute them within 5 years, witnesses goes away, evidence goes away. Witnesses forget their what they saw, memory fades. And after 30 years, guilty people who should have been executed years ago are in the newspaper nowadays getting money off the state for being in prison justifiably, but now a court has wrongly adjudicated they don't have enough evidence now to convict them. Of course they don't, not after 30 years. Of course they don't. I mean, things deteriorate and go away. They had it when they had it, that was good enough. Why didn't they execute them within 5 years? The whole system is messed up. Give somebody 30 years, they can wiggle out any conviction. And that's what's happening. So the people you see today that people say, oh, they were innocent, I'm glad they got out after 30 years in prison. A lot of them, the state's saying that. Their dirty courts are saying that. Their dirty courts are the one that convicted them in the first place, and now they're unconvicted them. Which one do you believe? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I do know, fact scientifically, that evidence goes away. It deteriorates. There's a lot of room to wiggle in 30 years. You can get out of anything. You can get out of anything. I mean, there have been people who were up on the death penalty who didn't eat for days to make themselves so thin, they wiggled through very small ventilation ducts and got out of the prison. Time deteriorates a hell of a lot. So they get out of a lot of things that guilty. So the ones you see in the news that people think, yeah, the system works, they're letting these people off, even though they suffered for years and years on death row, and they're letting them out of prison, and they were exonerated. They get a lot of money for being in prison when they actually did the crime, they actually did the murder. So the system is actually working on the front end, not working on the back end. And then there's people on death row where it worked on the front end, and people aren't able to wiggle out of it because they won't let them have the DNA test. And we've seen that play out in real time right now going on in Tennessee. Or for some other reason, they can't get out of it because the state keeps going in spite of knowing, because we know they do that, because we know they admit that they release people that have already been on death row, convicted, upheld numerous times. So what part of do we not know that that innocent people wrongly convicted aren't able to get out of it and are executed? That's how catastrophic it is. We know, we see the tip of the iceberg. Innocent people are getting arrested all across America every day in the United States of America for DUI and for other crimes. They're actually counting the numbers on DUI. They don't count the numbers on other crimes. Innocent people are getting arrested while the officers that are arresting them are guilty, probably, we know, of drunk driving in patrol cars. So they're actually arresting people who are innocent, letting the drunk people go down the road, and they're drunk themselves. We know that takes place. Statistically, they have had troopers drunk on the job, and they put them back on the job. So, catastrophic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6. I mean, I might not say it eloquently, but facts matter. They speak for themselves. I'm telling you how the system is. And it's not that hard. It's not that hard. I know I've done it. I arrested more people than any trooper in the whole state of Tennessee. It wasn't a fluke for more than half a decade. I didn't get it wrong. It's not that hard. It is a decision that is part subjective and objective. based on tests. But if you're honest and you work hard enough, you don't have to arrest innocent people. You don't have to do that. You should never do that. That's a catastrophic failure. If it is that much in question, then you call them a ride or let them go. That's not right. Hello. But so we know the system is catastrophically wrong, horrifically evil, and they don't care about right and wrong. Their conscience is seared. They'll execute a innocent person. Try to. They're not even capable of doing that. So how can you trust them to do anything right? I'm telling you, you can't. You can't trust your government right now. Now, I'm not saying do anything violent or rogue or unethical or illegal. I'm saying get up and vote these people out of office. It's only going to get worse. It's catastrophic for you right now. We need to get a grip and make our government work for us. And we're going to go through some cases. And just tell you the evidence. People on death row that didn't do it. And we're going to talk about the numbers as far as police officers, how many people they kill every year, execute immediately in seconds on the street without a judge, without a warrant, without a jury, and within seconds. And how many people kill police officers? I know they have a dangerous job, but the disparity is alarming in the number of officers killed, intentionally killed. I'm not talking about accidentally where they're going to a call and get killed because they didn't drive right, or sometimes somebody ran a stop sign or something or didn't pay attention to the blue lights. I'm talking about incidences where someone has feloniously murdered a policeman wrongly, and that's horrific. Don't do that. And you should be executed for that if the situation warrants. But I'm talking about, and then compared that to the number of people that policemen kill, they call it justified. It's an alarming number. Is it? No judge, no jury, no time to prove your innocence or explain circumstances or back out of it. They deemed you a immediate threat to them, that you might kill them or cause them serious bodily injury, and they adjudicated within seconds that it's all right for them to take your life. So had they arrested you and put you on death row, that's a privilege. So the privilege of being on death row is devastating. Devastating. And that's the good side of it. That's the good thing. So I'm telling you how catastrophic it is. The good thing is that you get on death row and have the rare chance of succeeding and avoiding execution when you were innocent. And so that's the privilege. That's what you might get if you're very lucky. The other side, which is even worse, is that a police officer wrongly executes you on the street. And that's the bad side. And don't even be concerned about that. I mean, about being on death row. That's the privilege. That's the good thing. That's what we're going to deal with. The good thing, which is you're on death row and you didn't do it. And that's a good thing, really. In this state, that's how bad it is. You get your chance to defend yourself. And that probably won't get it done, but at least you get to live your life in prison. The catastrophic, both of them are catastrophic, but the worst catastrophic is you get killed immediately, if not sooner, because some rogue, dirty, scumbag, criminal, murdering police officer in a uniform with state power that you gave him, not directly but indirectly, murders you or one of your family members on the street. And I know what the news media puts out. They put out stuff when they talk about murder. They put out stuff about, here in Knoxville, about a little child being killed in the projects by a gang member. And I get it. And talk about how ruthless gangs are. And that's the problem. That these out of control gangs that aren't within the government's control, that do drive-by shootings and kill little children. And while I agree 100% that some gangs and some members in some gangs, although very few of those are horrifically dangerous and work outside the system, I will argue with you by facts that it is much worse, much worse, because they'll get that person convicted that did the drive-by shooting, that was in a gang, and they already have found them. It is much worse and much more difficult to escape the death penalty or to escape death when it is your own damn government that is in effect doing a drive-by shooting and taking a family member, although not a child, that's the horrificness of it, that they show you that side of it, to put out that propaganda that happens so infrequently that the frequency of what they're doing is what you need to worry about. But the propaganda, they're trying to scare you. Let us have more officers, more deadly force, more executions, because look at the blood stains on the sidewalk where this little child was killed by a gang member, and get the mother to help them in their propaganda. And sure, absolutely, that needs to be dealt with 150,000%. I'm behind that because I believe in justice just as much as I'm behind making sure the state that we don't do that drive-by shooting on you or a member of your family by tax money and stuff that's much more difficult to get out of when the state has got the ball and they're going to run with it and violate rules, get out of bounds, and do whatever the hell they want to do. Violate criminal laws, perjure themselves, violate the Brady rule in an effort to put you down. And they don't show that on the evening news. That don't fit their narrative and keep them in power. That damages them and shows you not to trust them. How do we know that they even got the right gang member? We don't. They could still be out running free. They got somebody that makes them look good, and that's what they're about. I'm telling you. I know for a fact, inside man, been through stuff I've seen. AI will tell me, no, that's not the way it happened. And I'll say, yeah, I seen it. Don't try to tell me something that I seen real live with my boots on the ground in danger. I know they do that. As a matter of fact, and facts matter. I'm here to tell you the facts. That's why they don't like me. Because I tell you, don't trust them. I'm not saying hurt them. They're saying hurt us. They're saying execute us. They'd like to find a reason to execute me. And if they needed to, for no unjustifiable reason, we know that they will arrest you for drunk driving while they may be drunk. We know that's tip of the iceberg. And we know that they get wrongful convictions, that death sentence is wrong by math and science. So what part of trust them do you understand? And I'm not saying that we need to excuse them, because we're human, everybody makes mistakes. I'm saying it's not a damn mistake. It's intentional, on purpose, with forethought and malice. They know what the hell they're doing sometimes, and they don't care, and that's the scary thing. Don't give them an out. Don't give them an out. They're not giving you an out when you're innocent. You could be strapped to the table, getting needles in your arm all the time, proclaiming you're innocent with untested evidence, begging them for years, test this evidence, and they won't do it. In a case real live that just happened the other day. Or one of your family members, you could be watching them. So yeah, 300 people, you can be watching them. Thank y'all, come on in, it's Charles Van Morgan Show. You could be watching them be executed and knowing they're not guilty. My dad didn't do that. My son didn't do that. And the state's got power. They got the media. And they're putting out in the media that You shot a child in a drive-by shooting, and that's inflammatory, and everybody and their brother wants you put down. And what they're not telling you, that I'm telling you, is the truth about the situation is, you might have been in another state with 30 witnesses. You didn't do that. You didn't kill that child, but they got that media piped out, and everybody hates your guts. And they're gonna get it done, and everybody appreciates them executing an innocent man. And everybody's happy thereafter after you're dead. But the facts are, reality is, under God, you went straight to heaven, you didn't do it, and the real guilty person's still out running around laughing their ass off at you, the mother, the police, and they're happy. They didn't care if they got an innocent person. A lot of them aren't, administrations ain't. And they hang out enough innocent officers. So yeah, they're getting rid of innocent officers. If an innocent officer rigs stuff up, I'm not getting you on camera. Hello. Hello, I won't get them on camera. It's pointed this way. Hello. A nice little family there. So, a happy mother, you can see all her beautiful children. So, that's what I'm here for. I'm fighting for you and your families. I'm telling you, they're not. They got it rigged up for them, and they could care less about them getting power. They show the death penalty to show you their power, not to administer justice, to show you their power and keep in power. This is what we're capable of. Stay in damn line. Obey us. This is what we'll do. And we'll trump up charges on you. I'm telling you, they'll do that. Remember, watch the commercial, the 1964 Lyndon B. Johnson commercial. He's telling you, and I'm doing the same thing, realistically, honestly, backed up by science, and we're going to show you some details. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 8, 9. Pulling the pedals off just like that little girl. Telling you from experience and knowledge. I may not get it at all complete, skip numbers in a row, but I'll get them right. We got plenty of time. Time and distance is our advantage to show you how crooked the Tennessee state government is that we're dealing with right now, and all across America, all across the world. That's the way they do. That's the way governments get. They're wicked human people that get a little bit of power and they get drunk on it and they do whatever they need to stay in power, and executions keep them in power. Wrongful executions keep them in power and keep that money coming in. They keep them gluttonous, and they love executions. There's one reporter here in Knoxville. He said some evil, wicked stuff about me. Stuff that's absolutely not true. Lying. He quoted me in the Knoxville News Sentinel. Quoted me in the paper. Something I never said, but put quotation marks and quoted me as saying that. Mr. Larkin with the Knoxville News Sentinel. Now they've gotten a little better now. Not much, a little better. I think they got a better political reporter right now that tries to be more fair, has found out that Knoxvillians and people in the United States and people who read the news have gotten a brand new respect for reality, and they don't believe that they're trash anymore, and they don't believe the government, so they're starting to print some more stuff, more likely at times to tell the truth, because they know people ain't going to read their lies. They're too blatantly obvious. Because, as a matter of fact, we've got the first president in American history who has stood up against the press and the news media. Before, it was just a straight pipeline for whatever the news and the people in power wanted, and the people in office kowtowed to them. And for the first time in American history, we've got a president that got elected that calls it fake news, and it's fake news. Mr. Larkin said some horrible stuff about me, quoted me in the newspaper, stuff I never said. He quoted me as saying, "Don't believe that lying camera, believe me." I never said that, but he quotes me like I said that on the front page of the paper with my picture, accusing me of a heinous act. You know, arrest that guy. We got to find somebody that shot that little child, and everybody's happy thereafter, but I didn't do it. And that's not involving a child in my case, but they alleged it was. A grown man, drunk, violent, dangerous. And they flipped it around. You can't believe a damn word they say. I know, I've been through it. Seen it. Up close and personal. They'll try to tell you what you saw. You're crazy. You're crazy. You didn't see that. And you can argue all day long. Yes, you did. I know it. And they'll try to beat you down. You didn't see what you saw and try to make it worse on you if you tell the damn truth. That's your state government. And Mr. Larkin loves to go to executions. He went to every one of them. You usually have reporters, and you can listen to them. They get assigned an execution to watch one. And they're assigned to. They don't really want to, but they're news reporters. They go do their job. They feel responsible to report the news. And that's actually alarming news. The state putting someone to death. We, the people, are in effect doing that. Committing a murder, a justified homicide. No, they don't call it that. That's what it is. In some cases, it's an unjustified homicide. I mean, there's people inside that viewing room that are defenders of that person, and they know they're not guilty, and there's nothing they do about it. And it's news. That's why it's so horrific. It can be a state-sponsored wrongful murder. It has happened. They don't want to tell you that. They want to tell you he's in a gang, he murdered somebody on the street, and they had to get somebody in custody to make themselves look good. They don't care. They don't care if it wasn't them or not. If they look good, they got somebody in custody, and everybody has that feel-good feeling that we got the right person, and no, they didn't. Do you trust them? And I'll tell you some horrific things that they have done. I mean, tampered with evidence. I know they've done that. I've seen it. You couldn't have told me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that people in law enforcement would intentionally do illegal things to get people arrested. Because I was in law enforcement, I would have never done that. If I had made a mistake, which is what I thought, then you would correct it. You would back out. You would say under oath the truth. If you weren't for sure, you would say that. You were honest. You didn't have a stake in people getting convicted. You had a stake in honoring the Constitution and honoring the truth. And if guilty people went free because the state didn't have enough evidence, then you let that happen because it's better. Our system of justice is built on the fact that it's better to let a guilty person free than to convict an innocent person. Because we're human, mistakes are going to happen. But you admit them, and I would have never thought that a law enforcement officer or the government would intentionally, with malice, forethought. And malice is actual knowledge of the falsity or complete reckless disregard for the truth. It's there. They just recklessly disregard it, know it, don't test evidence, and a lot of different things. So they act with actual malice. And a lot of times, it is knowing the truth, the first prong of actual malice. Know it, don't care because it benefits them to have arrested somebody, found the person, and put them down. They do that. I would have never thought that 15 years ago. I know that for a fact now. I know it for a fact. There's benefits in lying under oath. There's benefits in getting somebody executed that didn't do it. Benefits for the person lying on them. And I can say that with full knowledge, complete peace under God, that I'm not being defaming to somebody. That's the truth. That's what you need to hear. When you're sitting there on death row in the death chamber, strapped to a chair, and they're sticking a needle in you, that they don't even know what concoction they're giving to you by their own admission. They haven't even tested it. They don't even know how to do it, but they know how to get you right people in there in the first damn place. I mean, you look at the circumstances. I had 0 people that were wrongfully arrested. So you go figure. They have a lot. So let's get across the road here. Wow, over 200 people in here. So they will arrest wrongful people, knowing it, and get benefit off of it. They get promotions, they get more money. It benefits them to do wrong. People in state power. It benefits them to do wrong. Why would the warden be in there? and tell them don't talk to reporters and don't answer questions. Because why do you think he's a warden? Because he shakes hands every day, almost, with the governor, who's perpetrating this sickness. And you look at what he did. I mean, if you don't listen to what they're telling you, look at the facts. He didn't give a reprieve. He looked over the evidence. He gave a reprieve because of their ineptness. So how do we know that they weren't inept in the first place in putting Mr. Crothers in the death penalty? We don't know. We don't know either way. The populace don't know. I know, and I'm telling you that in some cases they do know. They do that it's an innocent person that they're putting to death, but they don't care. They get benefited by doing it. It's willful blindness, and sometimes it happens. And that's what you need to be afraid of in the state of Tennessee. No other candidate on the ballot, and that's not the only thing that we're in this for, is to win a race. We're in this to protect Tennesseans, win or lose, to make it harder for them to continue doing their dirty, to stick it in their face and say, you may be willfully blind and do this for your own benefit, but we're going to show every damn body who you are. You're not going to hide your willful blindness. We're going to point it out to the world. Charles Van Morgan, broadcasting live on the Henley Bridge. Hopefully I won't get assassinated. From the state of Tennessee, is telling the world, and they hate this, they tell me to shut up. It's called the First Amendment, that they don't like either. It's called innocent, that they don't like either. It's telling you, the world, Australia, Canada, all over the world, people watching this channel, the United States, specifically the state of Tennessee, standing behind a Christian governor, is rigged, willfully blind. The death penalty is rigged, and you might be on death row, and your innocence won't make a damn to these people. It won't matter. They do it for power, as you look at the beautiful view, and money, and they're gluttonous, and they will never get the death penalty. People in their rung, people in their status never get executed. Isn't that amazing how that happens? And they hang people out because they want to put a semblance of, hey, we're doing the right thing, but the people they hang out are the ones that are doing the right thing. The system is messed up. Get up and vote. It's catastrophic, is what I'm telling you and the world. Believe me or not, my job is to speak the truth, to tell you the facts, because they matter. Mr. Todd Larkin, I'll finish. I'll tell you about him. So yeah, over 200 people. Wow, what a show. Like, share, and comment, and contribute if you can. Thank you for the contributions. Look at the beautiful view, God's beautiful planet. So Mr. Todd Larkins loved to go to executions. He volunteered. Loved to see executions. Now, just like the young man in the Josie Wells movie that ran around, bragged about himself, how many people he'd killed, never killed anybody, bragged about it to Josie Wells, who killed men, women, and children in the movie. At least that's what he admitted to. He didn't like killing. That young man bragged about how many people he killed. And you've seen the movie. He thought it was the grandest thing in the world, killing people. He had never done any of it. And he killed a man on a john at an outhouse. And that's how knowledgeable I am. When I grew up, we didn't have a bathroom, we had an outhouse. I've been around the while, learned a few things. I know before technology and technology. But he killed a man, and for the first time, and he was out whining, drunk, saying he'd never do it again. Thought he was so bad before, it was a great thing to kill somebody. And then after it happened, where he probably should have done it in that instance, the guy went for the gun, and he was promising he'd never do it again. That's most people's reaction, a human being's reaction. I've seen some bad things. I didn't like it. Didn't like it. Even when people did it to themselves, you try to stop it. You do whatever you can do. Even put myself at risk in situations where people put themselves in a bad situation. But I did what I could, and they reframe it. They lie about it. They're good at lying. Sometimes it's so blatantly honest. They have power. That's what power is. It doesn't matter if they lie. They have the power to get a lie through. That's what you need to understand. You say, well, I'm innocent. That doesn't matter. They have the power to execute an innocent person. That's what's so scary about it. And the other scary thing about it is they do it and it doesn't bother them. Mr. Todd Larkin, the one that lied about me in the news, put it all over the paper that could have got me or my family killed, enjoyed going to executions. He volunteered for him. He liked that sick, pathetic stuff. He wasn't like that young man on Josie Wells that thought it was the grandest thing in the world until that actually happened. Mr. Todd Larkin got a taste of it and he liked that. That's the kind of people that are putting out this false propaganda, these lies about people. Their conscience is seared. They're sick people. They enjoy wickedness. They enjoy your death, and they like it better when you didn't even do it. And that's what a lot of them look for. So your innocence is what they want. So it benefits them. It's better for them. Some of these prosecutors, they convict guilty people all day long. They put guilty people on death row all damn day long. Relatively easy to do because the facts are there, they did it. What a lot of them like to do, a lot more than what you'd think, relatively, they enjoy convicting innocent people. That shows their skill. It doesn't matter, that's power. We have power regardless of the truth. That's how sick they are. People like Mr. Todd Larkin, they've seen that sickness. They know, they've seen people executed justifiably, maybe unjustifiably, and they like it. They volunteer for the death penalty cases, guilty or innocent, and once they've got the ball, they won't give it up, even knowing. And if facts come out that the person's innocent, they'll hide them. I'll show you real live cases. They will execute you wrongly in the state of Tennessee with a quote unquote Christian governor. You think that'll protect you? That's just a cover for the dirty man that he is. And that's a fact. These people are some sick people. And the death penalty is rigged in the state of Tennessee. And it is a dangerous thing to live in the state. I wouldn't even come to the state. It is that dangerous in the state of Tennessee to be here. And people say, well, what about other states? I don't know about other states. I know I live here and I know what I've seen in Tennessee. And I know the iron is hot in Tennessee, and I'm getting putting out the warning for people in Tennessee. I try to have enough people watching to protect myself. But I don't know, they may try to convict me of something. They've tried in the past, and no one is safe in this state. So if you're just joining me, we're talking about wrongful convictions on America's death row, in some cases in Tennessee. The cases and the receipts. So at least 202 people have been sentenced to death. U.S. have been exonerated since 1973. So Mr. Todd Larkin was getting ready to go to the death chamber. He probably knew, but he liked it. Floated his boat, turned his sick self on, excited him. Some of these people in government power in the state of Tennessee, it excites them. They're evil and wicked. Their conscience is seared to try to get you convicted of stuff you did not do. So, roughly 1 exoneration for every 8 people executed. While the landmark 2014 gross study, PNAS estimates at least 4.1% would be exonerated. So, you're talking about executions that have taken place. At least 4.1% may have been not guilty. And that's the part that the government wants to focus on. The ones that are guilty are easy. The 4.1% are the ones, the Todd Larkin, not news reporters, lawyers, state government officials, state governors. One of them, post-mortem, was evidently suspected of a murder, are the ones they're worried about. The 4.1% getting them convicted, they're the ones they like. The dominant causes are not honest mistakes, but misconduct, official misconduct by police prosecutors in 69.2%. So, overwhelming majority of these wrongful convictions, a lot of them are, they're doing stuff wrong, misconduct, and they know it. Perjury, false accusations. They lie about stuff under oath in their damn courtrooms. And there's an incentive for that. They benefit from it. They get promotions. They get warden. They get these highfalutin positions, so the top is dirty. The top of people in Tennessee state government is dirty as hell. Dirty as hell. That's what you don't hear about. You hear a lot of police officers get hung out. A lot of innocent ones. You hear a lot of guilty ones being praised that they defended their life and shot and killed somebody. Look at these people that execute people on the road, that they say they're heroes, they had to do it. Check their last name and see, it's easy to do, if they've got a daddy that's a captain in the THPP, because they're one of them that does. I'm just saying, and check these people that get hung out. We're doing our job, we get rid of bad officers. See if they got any relatives in the highway patrol. They don't. They're not getting hung out, terminated because they did wrong. They're getting terminated as an example to show the public that we're doing our job when really the person's innocent. They're hanging out the vulnerable. That's how their system is set up against innocent people. So, Tennessee is a flashpoint. 3 former Tennessee death row exonerations since 1973. Paul House, Gussie Vaughn, Michael McCormick, the contested 2006 execution of Sidney Allen after the state denied him DNA testing in May 21st, 2026 box execution attempt. And 1 year reprieve of Tony Crothers, who maintains his innocence with untested DNA and fingerprint evidence sitting in state custody. And as I mentioned, some of these exonerations are guilty people that should have been executed. They're showing you these people to try to insinuate that a bad thing happened. They were put on death row. But none of them were executed. So the system, although slow, worked. It was the courts, when it came to fruition, worked. What I'm telling you is maybe not. Maybe that's not what happened. Maybe those people were guilty. And the death penalty realities. America has 2 death penalties. You just hear about, you hear about both of them. The first one, you know it, judge, lawyers, judges, appeals, years, decades. The whole system working before they touch one hair on your head. The second one, no judge, no jury, no lawyer, no appeal, an officer, a split-second decision, and you're gone. Same result, completely different rules. The numbers don't lie. And this is the other death penalty. And the officers that do it are heroes. If they've got somebody in the system, that's just one way. Here's what the data shows. The former death penalty, after a jury verdict, a death warrant, an average of 19 years of appeals, executes about 20 to 25 people a year in this country. 20 to 25, the street version, over 1,200 people last year killed by police. So it is a privilege if you are non-violently arrested for a capital offense and put on death row. That's a privilege. You say being on death row is a privilege? Yeah. Because 1,200 people every year don't get that privilege. Some of them deserved it. Not all of them didn't. Not all of them did. No trial, no verdict, no warrant. 50 times more people. Zero process, some permanent result. All handed out by the honest state government. Check the last name of the officer that killed somebody, if you can even find it, if it's even made public. A lot of times it's covered up. Find their last name, look and see if they have somebody in state power, if their relative is not a present or former Tennessee Supreme Court justice, if their dad, relative, or father is not a high-ranking official in the department that they work for. I'm just telling you, from a sociological perspective point of view, that carries the day. I'll say what nobody in government will say. Death row is a privilege. You get courts looking at every piece of evidence. You get a chance, sometimes multiple chances, to prove they got it wrong. 185 people have been exonerated off of death row since 1973. Without the process, they'd be dead. And if you're innocent on death row, sometimes prosecutors work on it harder knowing that you're innocent. Now, that's what nobody says. Sometimes the guilty on death row get out of it, and that's what you hear about. The system's working. They don't tell you that the system is not working. We let a guilty person go free because after 30 years, they wiggled out of a justified conviction. So what you think, if you think what they tell you, could be very possibly, high likelihood, in my view, what I've seen, absolutely 100% the exact opposite of what they're telling you. And we know that because they tell conflicting stories. 185 people have been exonerated off death row since 1973. 185 people. Some of those 185 people that were exonerated were guilty as hell, murders out running around. They did it. And some of the people that were executed, that were on death row, that were executed, didn't do it, and the murderer's still out here running around. That's the alarming fact of the matter. I'm just the messenger. You don't have to believe me. I know it. I've seen how dirty they are, how the system works for them incorrectly against you. And they lie, even under oath, routinely, and get benefited for it. And they get punished if they tell the truth sometimes. Without the process, they'd be dead if you get on death row. So that's a privilege. So the people they executed on the street, not one hearing, not one appeal. Now here's the part that should make every Tennessean's blood run cold. 99% of officers who kill somebody never get charged. Not tried, not convicted. The exoneration, the executioner goes home. So 99% there's no charges brought against an officer that kills you immediately on the street in seconds. No judge, no jury, no 20 years to bring in evidence that you shouldn't be executed. They do it immediately on the street. 99% of officers are cleared. And that's almost statistically impossible. I'm not saying that every one of them should be brought up on charges. I'm saying that the ones that are brought up on charges are innocent, and the ones that are not brought up on charges, for the most part, a lot of them, more than 99%, are guilty as hell. But they tell you the facade is that they're going to executions just for reporting purposes, like Todd Larkin. No, he loves that stuff. They're sick people. The truth is that the officers that they have charged, I've looked into some of the incidences and where they've had to kill somebody, and they are wrong. They shouldn't be charging those officers. There's more behind it. That's a smoke screen. They had to kill somebody to protect their life, and they're being charged with homicide, and they didn't do it. To protect the officers in the system that are too powerful to hang out, that are too powerful to face justice, that illegitimately killed somebody that should have been charged, that are still the officers that are going to answer your calls today. That's what I'm telling you. I know that's alarming. It's not popular to say, but that's the truth. There are officers who have murdered people in the past before that never got charged, that should have got charged. They murdered somebody unjustifiably. They didn't have years and years for the privilege of death row, executed immediately, if not sooner, wrongly. And they portray that the system is working. This is how wrong the system is. I'm telling you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6. This is how bad the system is. It's catastrophic. The officers that shoot someone to protect their life, to protect themselves from serious bodily injury and or death, justified homicide, to take some of those officers and try to prosecute them. And some of these prosecutors love the officers that are not guilty. It's not that they love them, they love to prosecute the ones not guilty. That shows their skill and their power. Let's get the ones that didn't do it, the ones we want to wipe off the planet, that don't have a family or relative or some kind of powerful position in the agency that doesn't matter, that we can go after. Guilt or innocence is irrelevant. We're accomplishing a purpose. The purpose is to show our power. We can convict an innocent officer when he literally was out protecting us, who had to defend his life, had to go through this horrific incident, didn't do anything wrong, and we're powerful enough to convict him with faulty evidence, faulty arguments, and impress a jury, and it shows all officers, look what we can do to you. You better stand up and hail Hitler. I know that's a little extreme. And then the other reason is they convict these innocent officers, put them up on charges for shooting somebody and killing them that they had to. And that's the ones you see. The system works. Look, we got this person convicted. Just unjustified homicide by this police officer. And you think, well, the system's working. No, it's working the opposite. A lot of those officers, some of them, too many of them, are officers that should not have been charged. And they're sending a message that we're powerful enough to do this to the inner workings of the agencies, because they know. I used to be there, I know. And that's why I had a law enforcement prepaid legal service to protect me against people in the government. And they use that against me. And I'm always going to protect myself legally, justifiably, and let them use that against you. And then they hang out officers that are innocent to show how powerful they are. They can get a conviction on innocent officers, and to present to the public that they're doing something about officers wrongfully killing people. That's a horrific thing, and showing them based on fake evidence that, yeah, we do something about it, when they're really working the opposite way, when really officers that should be prosecuted, some of the 99%, are never prosecuted. And it is so blatantly obvious. Find their last name and look at their daddy or their relative. It is very apparent. And they won't prosecute them that should be prosecuted. So that's how the system works for them against you. And, you know, trust that at your own demise. If you don't believe me, that's on you. I'm putting out the message. I know I've lived it. So we agonize for 2 decades, execute 25 people a year after the full weight of the justice system has had its say. Which system has accountability? You tell me. So 99% of officers who kill somebody never get charged, never tried, not convicted. The executioner goes home, files paperwork, collects a paycheck, maybe retires with a pension. Meanwhile, the formal death penalty that we agonize over for 2 decades executes 25 people a year after the full weight of the justice system has had its say. Which system has accountability? You tell me. Neither one of them. Tennessee numbers right here at home. Tennessee averages 32 citizens killed by police every year. 32 citizens in the state of Tennessee. Me and you, mass populous Tennesseans, not the people that work up in that courthouse, in the higher administrations, not people that are our state senators and state representatives. They can fly down the interstate and have laws that protect them. Did you know that there are literally laws written that allows our state representatives to break the speed limit, to go at high rates of speed? Somebody's blowing. They're trying to get them to move forward. They go at high rates of speed, and the law says that you can't stop them as a law enforcement officer. But if you're going to work late at 90 miles an hour, then you could be arrested. But our state representatives can fly down the interstate at 90 miles an hour as long as they're going to something involving the government, and they're allowed to go as fast as they want to, and the laws are written to protect them and allow them to violently, dangerously endanger you. I'm just telling you. And you think that everything else is squared across the board? They're supposed to be public servants. They're not public servants. You're serving them, and you're being executed by them unjustifiably sometimes. 32 citizens killed by police every year. That's me and you. They kill 32 of us a year. That's a lot of bodies. That's a lot of funerals. That's a lot of graves. A lot of people that are buried by the state. 32 people get the second death penalty, the one without a trial. And the system that's supposed to investigate, the TBI only gets called in if the district attorney asks. So you can have a death penalty executed by a police officer on the street in the state of Tennessee. They could come and kill me right now, or you immediately. And if they kill me or you unlawfully, there's going to be no video camera. There will be, but they won't be. Have you ever noticed, isn't it suspect, when they have a shooting or a killing and they claim it's justified and there's no video for whatever reason, but if there's a video and it's justified, then they have a video to show you that they're all justified, because the one they show you is justified, but the one they didn't have a video of was justified too. So the one they show you is justified, and the one they didn't have a video is justified. So it's all justified all across the board. But they didn't have a video on the other one, but it was justified too. I mean, you put the logic together. If they didn't show you the video, it's probably because it's not justified. And they do that. They hide the video. You say, the police would never do that. There's laws, public information. Yeah, that works. The law works. It works against you for them. They don't have to release a damn thing if they don't want to. They're the judges and the jury, and they pick the jury. They don't have to do anything they don't want to do. And the more wicked it is, the more they love it. This is the wicked people in power. Literally. Satan, Lucifer, and evil, wicked demons and angels that fell with Satan have offered people power in the Tennessee government, in the United States of America. Now, this is my religious belief, scripturally based, and they have taken it, and they are fulfilling the evil, wicked desires of Lucifer, Satan, and the evil, wicked angels that tried to take over God, and the demons that follow his will. And they are literally executing their will on the planet in positions of high power, just like Lucifer offered Jesus power when he took him up to a great mountain and said, I'll offer you power over all these cities if you kneel down and worship me. And Jesus didn't. And he's still offering that to people today, and they're taking him up on it. And Lucifer wants human beings dead. He hates us. And I'm just saying, now you don't have to believe that. That's my scriptural basis and religious beliefs. But the wickedness is inhuman. Things you'd think about people wouldn't do. They wouldn't lie under oath when somebody's facing the death penalty. You couldn't do it, other people wouldn't. And I'm here to tell you, yes, they would, and they do. And I believe, and you ask why would someone be that wicked against you or one of your family members? I believe that they're demonically influenced, because it is almost, to me, above what a human would be capable of doing. And they're doing it, and they're in power today. I think that they've accepted power from the evil, wicked demons of hell and Lucifer and gotten in power and are enacting his will on the planet. That's what I think personally, the reason behind it. Now, you can formulate your own reason. Some people are just that wicked, maybe. I don't know. I think it's a lot of demonic possession and influence. And right here in Tennessee, 32 citizens killed by police every year, 32 people getting the second death penalty, the one without a trial, and the system that's supposed to investigate. The TBI only gets called in if the district attorney asks. So if the district attorney doesn't ask the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, who's a biased agency too, to come in and investigate, then it don't even get investigated. The cover-up is baked right into the law. 32 Tennesseans a year, no judge, no jury, just an executioner, justifiable homicide or not, decided in a back room by people who may, in my belief, be demonically influenced to, yeah, kill them. Or people who are just psychopaths. You think of the psychopath serial murder. What about the psychopath serial murder that tries to get people executed, that kind of serial murder? You don't think that happens? I personally do, and I'm warning you too. Even the warning should scare you. There are, I believe, psychopaths in our government, in power. I have seen them. I have seen their tracks that use the system to commit serial murders, and I believe in the state of Tennessee. Guilty or innocent, they like it. They like sickness and death, humiliating and demoralizing people in God's image because they hate us. And that's some powerful statements. That's what I think. That's reality. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, pulling pedals off, just like that little girl. I'm putting out the warning, believe me or not, when you're on death row and you didn't do it, I'm telling you, that's the one they want. Now, there are guilty people executed, and they should be a hell of a lot sooner. And these people that are so wicked that they enjoy convicting innocent people, putting them on death row and executing them, and they like officers that kill people that they shouldn't be killed. They are the same people in our government power, the wickedness in high places, that enjoy helping guilty people not get killed on the street, get put on death row, and wiggle their way out of murdering you or your family. The system is backwards. The system is messed up. If I explain it any other way, I'd be lying to you. No other candidate in the history of Tennessee's ever talked like I do, because they're too afraid to tell the truth, because all they want is power. To be in a big fancy mansion, and all I want is to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, to tell about the wickedness of this world, to try to convert people to trust in the Lord Jesus Christ, and to point out the wickedness of mankind in America, in the state of Tennessee, to fight for you in this country, the mass populace of Tennesseans. We deserve a hell of a lot better, and I wouldn't be doing right if I told it any other way. I'm not in politics. I'm in telling the truth. It ought to scare you to death. You ought to get up and vote. And I've been through this, I know. So let's see how many people we got listening to that message. Wow, almost 300 people. Hello, I'm doing my show today. I'm going to take Michelle to the hospital. So in Nashville, so I have to leave right after I do this.
Okay.
So, sorry about that. Good to see you though.
Okay.
So yeah, the people in the state of Tennessee are like that. And the facade is it's a Christian government. I'm calling you out, Bill Lee. I don't know your heart, but ain't a damn thing Christian about you. I see your tracks, you're dirty. I seen what you did the other day. You disgusting, despicable human being. And he may be a Christian, I don't know. I don't know his heart. I couldn't say. But there is so many evil, wicked people behind him. Either he's too chicken to do anything, or he thinks he's doing the right thing. And I'm here to tell you, Mr. Bill Lee, you're not, and you ought to change. You ain't got to worry about me. I'm fighting like hell with everything I got and doing a pretty damn good job. I was pretty good on the street, lowering the fatality rate. But you better worry about God. We're only here for a short period of time. You better get your heart right, boy. Instead of start yelling, Christian, you ought to start living it. My wife died, everybody vote for me, boo-hoo-hoo. I was raised without a daddy, boo-hoo-hoo. God taught me how to fight. That's not a deficit, that's an asset. So I don't care about your damn problems. Stop mistreating people in the state of Tennessee. I'm not after you, God is. He just sent me to send you the message. Watch out, it's a coming. And if I was you, I'd get on my knees and ask God to forgive me and start running the state of Tennessee according to the mass populace of Tennesseans. In my humble opinion, you're a dirtbag, sorry man that worships money over righteousness. Did you take the deal that the devil made, or are you just a sick, pathetic, ignorant piece of dirt? That's the truth. I'm not a pastor. I don't have to speak like I'm speaking at church in front of children. I'm speaking reality from somebody that's seen real sad on the street, and it's sickening what you're doing. It's pathetic. It causes Tennesseans to get killed. It's horrific. The 185 executions is the kill shot. Without process, those innocent people are dead. How many of those 185 were from South or Tennessee specifically, to localize it further? Now, here is the scorecard. Since 1973, 200 people exonerated from death row. Some of those 200 people are guilty, but they were exonerated. Now I know they tell you the system works. See, we exonerate 200 people. We even paid them for being innocent and being locked up wrongfully. And some of them were stone cold, not sober, stone cold guilty. And they got paid for being guilty and released and should have been executed years ago. The system allowed them to get it out. The system that's showing you it's working is showing you it's not working. It's that bad. Dishonest people in the government. What do you expect? 200 people who would be dead, executed by the state. If that process hadn't existed, those 200 people collectively spent 2,621 years in prison for crimes they did not commit. The Death Penalty Information Center. That process working slowly. Slow, painful, but working. The street version has no process. Nobody gets exonerated on the sidewalk. Right here in Tennessee, 3 of those 200 exonerations are right here in Tennessee. 3 people sentenced to die in the state who did not do it. And a 4th Nadhim Ostani released after evidence showed he had been sentenced to die for a crime he didn't commit. Tennessee death penalty. 4 Tennesseans saved only because the process existed, the appeals existed, the courts looked again. Paul House, Tennessee. Paul House spent nearly 23 years on death row. DNA evidence emerged in the 1990s pointing to his innocence. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in 2006 that no reasonable jury would have convicted him with all the evidence. He was finally released in 2009. 23 years without the process. Paul House is dead, executed by the state of Tennessee for something he didn't do. The South leads in both. 76% of all U.S. executions in recent years occurred in southern states. Since 1976, southern states have executed 1,278 of the 1,567 people put to death nationwide. The South executes the most and exonerates the most because the South convicts the most innocent people. That's not a coincidence. That's a broken system wearing a flag pin. People in government power. 1 in 8. For every 8 people executed in the United States, 1 other person has been exonerated from death row. Every 8 people on there. And the alarming fact, so there's some fans. The alarming fact is the ones that are exonerated may be the ones that should have been executed 10 years earlier. We don't even know that. They're just using that as a symbol. See, the system was wrong, but it corrected itself. I'm saying that the system was right and exonerated a guilty person. So statistically, we are executing innocent people. The math doesn't lie. We just don't always find out. And on the street, there is no exoneration. And 99% of the officers don't even get charged. While not all of them did anything wrong, I would say the majority of them didn't, were defending their life or serious bodily injury, had every right to use deadly force. I know officers who have been in that situation and were justified, and it was horrific what they had to go through. But there is a small percentage that should have been charged that weren't. And there is a percentage that are charged, a percentage of that 1%, that should not be charged. I know one right now that's being charged in Morgan County, Ray Faircloth. Now they're charging him with a crime, a homicide, because he, as an officer in Morgan County Sheriff's Department, he had to shoot somebody because they were trying to inflict serious bodily injury or death on him after verbal commands. And they're charging him with a homicide up on trial in July for defending his life against serious bodily injury or death. And they're acting like the system is working. We're charging an officer, and it is politics. So even part of that 1% that they do charge is not even the right percent a lot of the times. That's how much you should trust our government. I know Ray. Ray's a good man, a good police officer, defended his life, every right to. He's got a family and children. How many of the officers, specifically with the Tennessee Highway Patrol, have they not charged? And look at their last name, but they charge Ray and check out his last name, nobody in state power. And look at the Todd Larkin news media trash him to hell, saying we're doing something about this when they're working exactly the opposite. And they'll do the same damn thing to you. We're not in that class, never will be. But we can get control of that class by winning public office, putting enough pressure on them to make them do something right. Tennessee has 41 people on death row. 41. If the historical rate holds, statistically, 5 of them may be innocent. And the 1 or 2 that get exonerated, probably one that is exonerated is probably guilty because of a number of factors. So they're not even doing that right. 5 people sitting a Tennessee prison right now waiting to die for something they may not have done, and we're debating whether to speed up the process. I say speed it way up, because the one that got exonerated wrongfully, that did it, that gets a paycheck for being in jail when he should have been, that's dangerous to the public, that gets released, should have been killed 15 years earlier. So they're waiting to die for something they may or may not have done, and we're debating whether to speed up the process. Hell yeah, speed it up. 32 Tennesseans a year are already getting executed on the street with zero due process by a police officer on the road. Well, you can tell that lady's not a fan of my show, the look I got out of that. Paul House, 23 years, nearly executed, innocent. The process matters, the appeals matters, the second look matters. I've worn the badge. I know accountability looks like, and I know what a cover-up looks like. Tennessee deserves a governor, if not me, then somebody like me, and I don't know anybody like me, who demands both. We need to stop the cover-up November 3rd. At least put pressure on them to make it more difficult to kill you. You can't always stay alive. I get that. We're in a fallen world. Everybody's going to die, but we need to make it hard. Paul House, nearly executed, innocent. And here's the story about Paul House. Luttrell, Tennessee, 1985. A woman named Carol Muncie was found murdered, beaten, and raped. Luttrell is just a few miles north of here. She was left under a bush near a tree, a tragedy, a real crime, a real victim. The question was who did it, and Tennessee got it wrong. Law enforcement had an answer almost immediately, and just listen what they did. A man named Paul House. He was new to the area, and he had a criminal record. Yeah, boy, they'll get you every time with a criminal record. They like to stick something on you, and then they keep sticking wrong stuff. Our president has a criminal conviction. Do you believe him? Most Tennesseans don't. He had a criminal record. He was an outsider. That was enough. Being an outsider gets you on death row. They decided before the investigation was finished, they had their man. 2 witnesses said they saw Paul House wiping his hands near where the body was found. 2 witnesses claim they saw him. Blood on his jeans matched the victim's top blood, so they got him locked down. Wow, he's got to be guilty. You get a good lawyer in it and start checking into stuff. A forensic expert testified the semen found on the body matched Paul House's blood type. Boy, they got him hung. Jury convicted him. February 1986. Death sentence done, except none of that evidence was what they said it was. Here's what they did with the blood evidence. Here's what happened. The autopsy vials were not sealed. So they took blood off the victim that was murdered and raped, had it sent to the lab to be tested. They drove it 10 hours to the TBI lab. 2 law enforcement officers drove the victim's blood. No refrigerator, Tennessee summer heat. When they arrived, a significant amount of the blood from the vials was missing. Where did it go? It ended up on the other evidence. The blood was on the defendant's pants, but it wasn't blood from the crime scene where he did it while he was committing the murder. It was commingled on the way to the lab. When they arrived, a significant amount of blood from those vials was missing, gone. A former Tennessee State medical examiner testified the blood on House's jeans showed enzyme decay consistent with spilled autopsy blood, not from blood from a victim, a living victim. So on the way to get the blood examined from the victim and the blood found on the defendant's, and to examine the defendant's pants, the blood from her vials was spilled on his pants after the fact. Imagine that. So Examiner testified the blood on house jeans showed enzymes decay consistent with spilled autopsy blood, not blood from a living victim. The blood was either mishandled or planted. You tell me which is worse. So they mishandled or intentionally, probably, the blood evidence, put a man on death row. Would they lie about that? Hell yeah, that's the ones they like. They love that. Let's get a guilty man, pour a little blood on it, get him death row, giggle about it. Would they do that? If you ask me, hell yes, without a doubt. With actual malice, knowledge, they're doing it. Or reckless disregard for the truth, they spilled it. That was proven. Fact. So let's see how many people, wow, a lot of people. Thank y'all. Well, yeah. So, yeah, they do that. They do that, I think, routinely. I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6. I'm just putting out the evidence. This is catastrophic right now in Tennessee. You've seen it in real time playing out on May the 24th with Mr. Crothers. Reverse what you already decided that you need to do, but you couldn't get it done. What part of anything you did was right that we can trust? None of it. Some of it intentional. The husband, while Paul House sat on death row, four witnesses came forward about Carolyn Muncie's husband. 2 women said he confessed to the murder at a party. A third saw him beating his wife at a dance. A fourth said he asked her to give information, an alibi for the night his wife was killed. So the victim's wife, the victim's husband, is probably the one that killed her, and there's more evidence. 4 witnesses pointing directly at the man who lived in that house. Law enforcement had that information. Courts kept rejecting it. Appeals went away. That's not justice, that's home cooking. Then DNA testing came. The semen found on Carol Muncie, the evidence used to put Paul House on death row, belonged to her husband. They said that the semen in her, she was raped, was from the person they had on death row, Mr. Muncie. But it wasn't. It was her husband's semen that they found in her. So the semen found on Carol Muncie, the evidence used to put Paul House on death row. So Paul House's semen wasn't in her. It was her husband's. It belonged to her husband, not Paul House. The FSB expert had testified wrong at trial. He lied. Wrong testimony, wrong verdict, wrong man. 22 years on death row. The system that was supposed to find truth convicted an innocent man and nearly executed him. And that can happen to you. The Supreme Court in the wheelchair, it took the United States Supreme Court in 26, the court ruled any reasonable jury would not have convicted Paul House with that evidence. He was released July 2nd, 2008, confined to a wheelchair with multiple sclerosis, a disease that progressed while he sat in prison. Hello. So there's some people that don't mind the show. Got some nice smiles. All charges dropped May 12, 2009, and in March 2005, Paul House died. Complications from paranoia. The multiple sclerosis never left him. Tennessee helped prolong the disease and contributed to his early demise. Paul House was saved by the process, the appeals, the DNA testing, the Supreme Court. Without every single one of these steps, Paul House is executed by the state of Tennessee, an innocent man, dead, and nobody finds out. That's why process matters. That's why appeals matter. That's why you cannot let the government execute people on the street corner a split second without no process at all, because they can't even get it right with 22 years in the Supreme Court watching. And so you're fortunate if you get death row, on death row wrongfully. That's a privilege, because the other alternative is 32 people a year in Tennessee murdered immediately, if not sooner, by officers on the street. And they put out information of a little child being killed to tell you how important it is to kill you. When in actuality, a lot of times, sometimes, they're just putting somebody in jail to show you that they're doing their jobs, when the person that may be still running free. It's catastrophic, you can't trust them. Tennessee Paul House on death row for 22 years, innocent. The blood was mishandled or planted. The DNA pointed to someone else. 4 witnesses pointed to someone else. And it still took the highest court in America to get him out. Now tell me what happens to the 32 Tennesseans a year who get executed on the street with zero process, zero appeals, zero Supreme Court. They don't get 22 years. They don't get DNA testing. They get a report that says justified homicide. And the cover-up starts before sundown. I'm Charles Van Morgan, and I say stop the cover-up November 3rd. Paul House died in March 2025. He's gone, but his story is very much alive, and it belongs in this campaign. This is Tennessee corruption with a name, a face, a wheelchair, and a grave. And let's look at some more convictions, and I want to talk about the cases where people are not executed and why they're not executed. If we have time, let's see how long we've been on here. Almost 2 hours. Thank you all. Like, share, and comment, and contribute if you can. And I also want to mention, I was on a show just the other day. A very nice young man runs a show, Ero and Travel. So I'll drop the link in the comment section. Watch that show, Ero and Travel. You interviewed me the other day. There was like 34,000 people watched that show. And mentioned Mr. Tom Pippin invited me to be on their show. Very great men. And so we cooperated with them on a show. You might want to watch that show. A very smart young man on that podcast, Ero and Travel. Watch that show. Charlie Kirk is gone. He can't do anymore. He did his part, but I think this is the new and different, better, progressing, not progressive, version of Mr. Charlie Kirk. What's gone is gone, but the man that does that show, Ero and Travel, is still here. So watch that show. So a Memphis grocer named Joe Moschina was shot and killed during a robbery, a tragedy, a real victim, a real crime. Memphis authorities were under pressure to make an arrest. They needed somebody. They found Erskine Johnson, a man from St. Louis, Missouri, born and raised in St. Louis. So there's a murder, and police want to find somebody to show the world we're doing a great job. We find a murderer like that. So they hook somebody up. Could be you. I'm just saying, and I'm not just saying, I'm telling you, it could be you, but I'm innocent. That doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. In fact, it's not really irrelevant. Hello. Because if you're innocent, they enjoy that even more. That's how sick these people are in government power. They like that. If you're innocent, that's good. They'll get you convicted too. That better. That shows how powerful they are. So your innocence is a benefit to them sometimes. So they found this guy, Erskine Johnson, a man from St. Louis, Missouri, born and raised in St. Louis. He had never even visited the state of Tennessee before he was brought to Memphis to stand trial. So they went to another state. And it sounds funny. I mean, it's so blatantly Ridiculous. This is what they're doing to you, Tennessee. This is what they're doing to you, people from outside of Tennessee. Call people in Tennessee and tell them to vote. You're not safe in another state. They'll drag you in here for a murder that you never could committed. You never came here, except for when Tennessee drug you here and made you stand trial for a crime you never committed because you weren't even in the state. I mean, wow, this stuff happens. You can't make this stuff up. You're not safe in another state. If you're in another state, call people in Tennessee, tell them, hey, for my safety, I'm not a Tennessean. Please help me not get arrested by Tennessee authorities. I'm over the line. They'll drag me in your state, accuse me of a murder. I've never been in your state. That is real. It happened. So the only time he came to Tennessee was when they drug him here to put him on trial for a murder he didn't commit. That probably really floated their boat. These sick people. He wasn't even here. Let's get him convicted anyway. We'll show the world how powerful we are. Will they bring you in from Canada and try you on a murder even though you've never been in the country? They brought this guy from another state, never been here. Never been here, didn't matter. His palm print was found in the getaway car. One witness testified that he had confessed. Cars travel everywhere. You can have a car in Missouri, put my handprint, not be in the car, it can go to another state. I've never been in that state. A murder in that state, that doesn't mean anything. That means my handprint and the car met at some point in time in the history since I've been alive. It's not conclusive evidence of anything other than I have been in contact somewhere with that car at some point in time. To get a murder conviction on that's a whopping leap. His print was found in the getaway car. One witness testified that he had confessed. That's it. That's the case. A palm print in a car, one person saying he had something. That one person saying he had said something. No witness to the actual shooting who could identify him. One witness, one palm print, a death sentence. That's a rigged up deal. Where he actually was. He was in St. Louis at his mother's birthday party when the crime occurred. Nearly 30 witnesses could place him there. 30 people ready to testify, ready to tell a Memphis jury. This man was not in Tennessee when the grocer was killed. You know how many of those 30 witnesses were called to the stand at the trial? None of them. Not one witness was called to testify that Johnson was in St. Louis during the murder. His own defense put up 0 alibi witnesses. Sounds pretty rigged when even your defense attorney, person that's supposed to represent you, the double agent is what he is. If you know the inside system, you know they're double agents, doesn't testify against you, doesn't bring witnesses to testify in your favor. That's called a double agent. They're officers of the court working for the court to help get you convicted. 30 people and not one took the stand. Why not? He had a double agent defense attorney. Memphis in 1985, the population was over 50% black. The jury was all white. That jury deliberated less than 4 hours and found him guilty of murder. Then in less than 2 hours, the same jury imposed the death penalty. Less than 4 hours to convict, less than 2 hours to sentence a man to die for a crime he didn't commit in a state he had never been to. That's a setup. They enjoy that stuff. Memphis authorities were under pressure for a conviction and had their sights on Erskine Johnson. It was a done deal. Magazine, his first attorney, took a retainer, then abandoned the case. He hired an out-of-state attorney with little experience and no time to prepare. The prosecution case hinged on evidence that appeal lawyers later claimed was tainted, fabricated, indicative of possible misconduct. That's not my word, that's what lawyers found when they finally dug into it. What they hid. In 2004, 19 years later, the Tennessee Supreme Court found that prosecutors did not disclose important information to the defense. Brady evidence. They buried a police report showing that Nadum could not have fired the critical shot, United Church of Christ, where that came from. They had a report in their possession proving he couldn't have done it, and they buried it. Brady violation, constitutional misconduct, 19 years later. Wasn't even in the state. The witnesses were protecting someone else. In December 2011, the Tennessee Court of Criminal Appeals found that some of the state's witnesses had close ties to other suspects, which could have led them to implicate Alice Shimoni to protect somebody else. The witnesses weren't just wrong, they had a motive to lie. They were covering for the real killer, and the prosecution either knew it or didn't care enough to find out. Here's where it gets even worse. After 28 years, Tennessee offered him an Alford plea. He could officially maintain his innocence, but plead guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for immediate release. He accepted, was released in 2012, but lost his reparations for the 28 years he spent in prison while innocent. Lost his right to vote. The real perpetrator is still at large, and jurors and prosecutors will never be held accountable for his wrongful conviction. They trapped him, took the plea, and go home or keep fighting from a prison cell. That's not justice. That's hostage negotiations. 28 years, 28 of those on death row in a cell where he could not stretch his arms. 23 hours a day living in shadow of death. His mother died 2 years after his incarceration. He never got to say goodbye. Zero compensation, zero apology. And the man who actually killed Joe Blanchard never charged, never tried, never convicted. The prosecutors who buried the police report never charged. The witnesses who lied to protect the serial killer never charged. The attorneys who took his money and abandoned him never disciplined. The all-white jury that convicted a man from St. Louis who had never been to Tennessee went home that night and slept just fine. The Tennessee justice. That's a cover-up. That's a cover-up. And that's the way they do in the crooked state of Tennessee. Hello. That's the way they do in the crooked state of Tennessee. They convict innocent people, and they let guilty people go free sometimes, and being on death row is a privilege. So tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, we will try to have another show, and we're going to talk about the people that wiggle their way out of death row that ought to be convicted, because, and how that happens, because after 30 years you can wiggle your way out of almost anything. We're going to talk about the reasons behind that. So while you're on death row, if you're not killed immediately on the street, then you're on death row and get executed. But death row is a privilege because you get time to try to get out of it. While at the same time, there are people who are on death row who should have been executed 15 years ago, get time to wiggle their way out of a justified conviction and are free. The system's messed up. And we're going to maybe talk about that tomorrow with some facts and evidence, and talk about some more guilty convictions, because they're going to try to kill you next, or your family. Catastrophic here in the state of Tennessee. Thank y'all for joining me. Let's see if we got any questions from people on the chat. We will turn around here and see. Message retracted. Yeah, some people retracted message. Let's see what we got here, and we'll answer some questions. Because sounds like a black pastor. No, yeah. Pull out the race card. Hops M. Slung said hi. Why all of a sudden is Tim Burchett now an expert on aliens, life forms, and UFOs? Yeah, that's what I wonder. We got a lot of serious problems, and Mr. Burchett wants to talk about aliens. While we have someone who was in the military that's not getting their due rewards Purple Heart. Yep, they insurance, and I believe they all are supporters to have a bond to work in government. That's right. Z Live at Feathers. It's a two-tiered just U.S. system. That's right. 100% absolutely agree with that. Let's read some more comments. If you got a comment, I'll read them out right now. So let's see. This is my insurance agent. Yep, they insurance, and I believe they all are supposed to have a bond to work in government. It's a two-tiered U.S. system. You know, doctors have to malpractice insurance to function professionally. Too many claims raises in the cost and can't work without it. Make cops do the same. Too many claims and can't afford to work. Yeah, that's. I had insurance in case I got terminated to help me defend myself or prosecuted. Wrongfully, I certainly did. So access to this system, they can't pay to a lawyer. That's right. Where's the process for holding the bad actors accountable in the courts? Seems it's lacking. Absolutely. It's not. The process is in the voters. So, Army, they bombed a school in Iran, not Israel. All for maximum penalty against animal abuse. Yeah, it's some sick people that harm animals, and a lot of serial killers, that's where they start out, killing animals. I have heard. We the people need to start helping each other and having the honest law enforcement backs. That's true. Silver Feathers, I agree with that. Let's see. No genocide. No genocide. This is in Israel. Thank you. So why are we constantly seeing the type of behavior and no consequence has to be turned around? That's exactly right. We need to turn it around. We're talking about authorities committing a genocide. Planted. Sit down. Abraham's name is authored. It works for them. That's why they get out. Amen to that. That's right. So we'll see. I'm sorry I feel off, but I've been locked up or on drugs for my nearly 40 years. I've been clean now for 9 months. Everything is new to me, including tech. I need to get involved with RL. I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Well, hello. God bless you, I pray, and may God help you. Howdy from San Antonio, Texas. Hello from San Antonio. Redacted. I don't trust Marcia to do any better. No, she won't. She won't do. She's part of the system. Am I trans? They didn't do a very good job if I am, did it? Their money. In Tennessee, you must vote in primaries because they sneak evil people in with limited people voting them in. Bill Lee is a leftist pretending to be a conservative. The Congress at Tennessee used him to get. That's right. I believe that too. You American traitor. Un-American traitor. I'm not an un-American traitor. I love America. You're not a pastor, but you are preaching. I'm not a pastor and I'm not preaching. Are you Southern Baptist? No. He usually doesn't read chat. Yeah, I'm reading it now. Do you take questions? I am now. By their fruits you'll know them. Absolutely, that's right. What? Is he human? Look at his eyes. Bless you, brother. Thank you, Josh Friend 398. The "are not a Christian" dude. Jesus would never say this rap. You're in a cult. Yeah, he would, I think. A coat, it tells you to love and save each other. Your voice needs to be heard. Thank you. Nicole, that tells you to love and save. You are 100% correct, sir. Thank you. Lisa, well, 6033, I appreciate it. Like and share and comment. You're in a cult, dude. I don't know how you get that. Amen. Many social workers are psychopaths and they hate you for being the enemy, the imaginary patriarchy. If California wants to keep their criminals, they need to keep them in the state limits, stop letting them spread. Tom Calhoun said, same in Canada. Exactly our fake government system for liquor, crack, pharmacy, profit organization. Thank you for the comments. Catherine Austin Fritz, believe it's secret governance program going on. That's right. And what about if they live in Oregon or California and they just let them off and back out to roam free in public? Yeah, they do. Agreed. Thank you. You're right. They will be removed by something else. You are so right. Zillion Feathers, Orange County, Texas. Thank you, Orange County. For years, people in Florida put up with having their windshields broken by dump trucks with uncovered loads until a state senator driving to the Capitol had his windshield shattered. Yeah. See, if it's one of those, then it matters. Oh, that's horrible. You can't do that to one of us. But if we're slaughtered, murdered, mistreated, that's okay. That doesn't matter. It's got to be one of those. One of those gets murdered and they'll get executed quickly. One of your family gets murdered, it'll take them years and years, and the guilty person will wiggle out of it. And I know that. I've seen it up close and personal. There was a trooper in Tennessee, in a county north of here, that went to a call of a domestic dispute. He hid behind a tree, and he wasn't even supposed to go to the call with the county sheriff's department unless he got dispatched. So he went anyway. You have to get dispatched, and you have to have supervisor's approval to get dispatched. So, and you have to be requested by the agency. They're state highway patrol. They're not police that answer calls in the county. So if you hear on the radio a county officer going to a domestic dispute, in order to be able to back them up, the county has to ask for you. You can't just show up. And then it has to go through a supervisor. The supervisor has to approve you going to the call, and then you go to the call. After first, the county has to ask for you. Second, the dispatcher has to ask the supervisor and tell them they've asked for our assistance, and the supervisor has to approve it. So after all that, you show up. This trooper didn't have any of that. Shows up on a domestic dispute at a county sheriff's department, hides behind a tree. A man comes out next door out of a barn with a shotgun. Not involved in the domestic dispute. The Tennessee state trooper shoots the man with a gun without warning, hidden behind a tree. And they investigated that. I talked to the investigator, and they adjudicated that justifiable homicide. That the trooper had a right to shoot and kill that old man that came out of a barn next door, not involved in the domestic dispute. Justifiable homicide. Now, who's his daddy's name? And the investigator told me that he had cleared him, and just telling me how that went down, because that's how they do. Favor Davis, 1976, said, hi, hello. Thank you. Due process has so often been made a mockery of. That's right. What do you think about data centers? They're a good thing. Modern technology is a good thing. People ask for them, we ought to let them have them. They bring jobs, money, and technology. Make us better than Japan or another country. The future is now, old man. Yeah, and I'm here in the future. And if I'm an old man, I've been smart enough to live this long, haven't I? So you might want to watch out who you make fun of, because you might not be able to call somebody might not be able to call you an old man in the future, because you might be gone. So I'm just saying. Hopefully your example, others will follow. Thank you. Thank you for speaking up. God bless you. Have a good day from Crossville, AKA Cross Vegas. Hello, Crossville. Thank you. I love you people. Very nice people. I've been to Crossville. Better research data centers. Yeah, I have. And make them safe and bring them in. Technology is a good thing. And we need it, but we need to make it safe. I agree with that. We need to make it safe, and we don't need to put it in areas where people don't want them. The topic today is on the death penalty. And if you look at the icon, and we're going to get off here, thank you for the outstanding amount of views. And the death penalty, if you get it, is a privilege because the alternative is to be killed immediately, if not sooner, by a police officer on the street without a judge or jury. So bring it back in full force. Collecting data on everybody for what reason doesn't make any any sense except for just invasion of privacy. Plus will make your utility go bigger, higher than trouble. So we may do a show on data centers and look into that and research it, do a show on that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Y'all are great people. Thank you all so very much. Like, share, comment, support the channel. Hello. Support my candidacy, support my civil adjudication in federal court, and support this message, independent journalism, and hit the icon. Thank you all so very much for joining us. So we'll answer a few more questions. We need to stop teaching WW2 in schools. We might have fought on the wrong side. I've been inside the belly of the beast, and I know for sure that you are telling the 100% truth. We need practical policies that can be implemented by polls that can get elected. Crying won't do it. Right, well, I'm not crying. I'm doing a little more than crying. I am actively involved in civil litigation, talking to people every day, and I'm involved with other great YouTubers. I was involved with the next better version of Charlie Kirk the other day. Euro and Travel, look it up. We're on the move. We're not crying about anything. They're not chasing us, we're chasing them. So we're on the winning side, and we're winning every day we're putting this message out. Thank you all so much. Awesome viewership today. God bless you all. And as I always try to say, we have to agree with Nick Fuentes. Well, I'd worry about God if I said something like that. Thank y'all so very much. May God bless you all. Remember, God loves you, and I do too. Till next time.